available to all consumer and business customers. Previously, AT&T Unlimited Data was limited to its DirecTV customers. So this is expanding its offering of unlimited data, and it also seems to be in response to Verizon announcing something very similar just a couple days ago earlier this week. So this is AT&T's unlimited, a new AT&T Unlimited plan, including unlimited talk, text, and data on 4 lines, will cost $180. Guys, back over to you.
All right, Julia, thank you. We have a news alert to get you on Samsung here, too, with, I believe, Deirdre Bosa. Deirdre?
That's right, Kelly. We're just getting word crossing the wires that a South Korean court has approved an arrest warrant for Samsung's Lee Jae-yong. Now, he is the heir apparent. He was in court last month in January, and he avoided being arrested then during hearings after the court ruled that there was insufficient evidence. But on Tuesday in South Korea, prosecutors made a second bid for his arrest, saying that they had collected more evidence in recent weeks. And now they have approved the arrest warrant for Lee Jae-yong. Now, this is, of course, Samsung is one of the biggest tech companies in the world. It is certainly South Korea's largest company. It makes up their most amount of exports out of there. So this is a big deal, and it definitely destabilizes somewhat the business. We will continue to track this, but a little bit more information. The reason he was in court is because he has been embroiled in a scandal that has also led to the impeachment of South Korean's President Park Geun-hye, and he is accused of paying nearly $40 million in bribes to the former president's secret confidant to secure policy favors. So we will continue to look into this and try to get a comment from the company as well. Kelly.
Wow, it's a big turn in the story. Deirdre, thank you.
We'll be back with the closing countdown in a couple minutes.
And then after the bell, while Trump administration has sent mixed signals on China, Hollywood is pretty clear about where it stands. And the first big budget Chinese import, the Great Wall, opens this weekend with Matt Damon. We'll look at what that means for the future of Hollywood. Plus, we've got much more from President Trump's news conference coming your way.
This isn't Donald Trump that divided a nation. We went 8 years with President Obama, and we went many years before President Obama. We lived in a divided nation. And I am going to try. I will do everything within my power to fix that.
The Bond Report is brought to you by PIMCO. The Bond Report is brought to you by PIMCO.
I don't think we've had a huge amount of news and information which gives us much reason for optimism other than a comparison with history where we've had these instances before, and as Greece is pushed closer and closer to the edge of the cliff, the politicians there tends to favour acquiescing to whatever demands are on the table. I guess the IMF's concern about involvement and debt write-off or restructuring this time makes it a little more uncertain than some of the previous episodes.
Coming up next time on Gillette World Sport, we're training with Super Rugby's defending champions, the Hurricanes. We're in Sweden for the latest on the WRC. And Andy McDonald demos the new sport of skater-cross. It's all coming up next time on Gillette World Sport, this weekend at these times on CNBC Live.
Dustin Johnson backs up the U.S. Open win with a World Golf Championship.
Dustin Johnson's 2015-16 campaign was one for the record books. The PGA Tour Player of the Year's resume consisted of a career-best 3 wins, tying him for the most on tour.
It's a great honor to win Player of the Year. You know, to have my peers think of me that way is definitely a good feeling and definitely makes me very proud of the way I've played this year.
Watch the PGA Tour all season long, right here.
1 minute to go before the bell. The market's been working on a 7-day winning streak. It looks like it's going to be a squeaker. The Dow actually in the last half hour or so has moved into positive territory just marginally. The S&P is sort of hovering just below that. You had a pullback in a lot of the leadership groups recently. The high beta index, HB, has been a leader. That's been a big give back. Financial stocks too gave up some, but really even at the lows of the day, Bob Pisani's right here. We really did not have much of a dip, but the oils are suffering.
Oh boy, Chevron's at a new lows for the year. Exxon's trading like that, down 9 or 10%. Mike, we ought to talk about it tomorrow, but we've got to figure out some way for oil to deal with the valuation problems.
Yeah, not carrying its weight. Bob, thanks very much. Ringing the bell today here, we have Cycle for Survival, and up at the NASDAQ, it is the Bowery Mission as the second hour of closing bell gets going right now with Kelly.
Welcome to the closing bell. I'm Kelly Evans. Let's see how we're finishing up today on Wall Street, because if the Dow closed higher, it will, of course, be a new record for the blue chips. Looks like it has a gain of about 8 points on the bell for 20,619. We'll see how things settle out there. Can't say the same for the other major averages. Remember, we're coming off about 5-day win streaks for the Dow and the S&P 500. And in fact, during this period of time, we've seen the Dow close higher 7 times at a new record since the inauguration. Same for the S&P, 11 times for the NASDAQ. But again, we're seeing that kind of come to a halt today with the NASDAQ, S&P, and especially the Russell 2000 dropping on the session. Again, though, the Dow does look like it's setting another record here with an 8-point gain to 20,620 in the session today. We'll have more about that, and President Donald Trump delivering his first solo news conference since his inauguration, tackling a wide variety of topics, including naming a new labor secretary designate. We'll bring you the highlights and the impact it's had on the market and could have on business. That's coming up. Joining me on the panel today, we have CNBC senior markets commentator and pro columnist Michael Santoli. Hello again. Navalier & Associates founder and chair Louis Navalier, and TIAA Investments managing director and equity portfolio manager Stephanie Link. Welcome, one and all. Really mixed session today, Mike. Interestingly, we didn't seem to see a huge reaction to the president's news conference, although, all day that he's given, there's been plenty of fodder about the stock market.
Hour and 17-minute news conference, I think it was. The market really just sat there. Clearly, everybody was watching and listening. But it really was one of those kind of quiet, low volatility days that we haven't gotten recently, but we got used to in January and February when we were in that range. And I think given how stretched this rally has gotten and people got, a little bit overheated chasing it in the last several days, you have to consider this to be a very modest digestion day. So we'll see what it leads to. But you did have negative breath, so more stocks down than up. But really, if this is what a down day looks like now, it's not that bad.
And so, it's interesting, Stephanie, that Cisco might have made the difference today for the Dow turning positive. It was up 3%. It was leading the way. We haven't been able to say that in a while.
Right, and Mike alluded to it. There were a lot more stocks that were down today than were up. So it actually did feel like a really pretty big down day in certain sectors, especially financials and energy.
If you're running real money as you are, yes.
Right, that's right. So today wasn't so fun. But that said, I would welcome a pullback. I think it's very healthy. We've had a great run. And but what I think is interesting is that this run has been so diversified. I think some people were thinking that this year value would be outperforming growth. Well, both styles have worked, large and small, in terms of the size, and mid. So it's been interesting. And then also the sectors have also been very diversified in terms of what has outperformed. So I think it's very encouraging. I think earnings are good. And then you get these great economic data. I mean, every data point this week was pretty much better than expected. And when you get a Philly Fed number at a 33-year high, I mean, that's something to get excited about.
I didn't know it could go up to 43.3. But the claims were low, the housing starts would be. But you said something that keys right into it. Said I'm almost welcoming a pullback. On that note, we had a CEO telling CNBC earlier today he called this a Trump bubble, and former Federal Reserve Vice Chairman Alan Blinder was on Squawk on the Street earlier, calling this a mini boom. Take a listen.
The economy is looking very good. Consumers are spending. Businesses are preparing for that or reacting to that. And there's a significant demand for credit, as there should be, in a, I don't know what to call this, kind of a mini boom.
Louis, what would you call it?